I know I look like the cat that just swallowed the canary. Is that the way this saying goes? And I kind of feel like I am. We just got off a CEO roundtable, and I'm so grateful for those of you who participated with us, investing in one another. But a couple of things blew my brain, just boom, wide open. We were talking about building a culture of development, and we were talking through our 10 strategies for developing a leader development culture, but also our kind of the fundamental, what are the scientific truths of whole and intentional leader development. And two things blew my brain. Okay, one was this. We were talking about culture, and culture being these artifacts, these values, and this larger part of it being the assumptions that we make about human beings, about our leaders, and about potential. And I described that readiness beats potential every time. And what I was breaking down was this fundamental assumption we have made for decades, and we continue to make, that we have high potentials and low potentials in our organization. We don't talk about the low potentials, but when we assume high potentials, we assume in the rule of thumb over the years has been maybe 10 to 15% of your people are your high potentials, or your talent, or your good leaders, and the 85% are not. And I introduced another concept that was the fundamental shift, was instead of thinking about potential or talent or leadership skill, was to think about readiness. People's readiness to develop and to edit, no matter who they are, their readiness to develop and to edit, because that's a key part of developing leader capacity, is this ability to learn. So I threw this out there, and I said, what if instead of thinking about our high potentials, we thought about our high readies, people that are at a moment where they're willing to learn and grow, which means that anyone in our organization may be moving through a season where they are more ready to edit than in other seasons. Here's what hit me. When we just replace potential or talent or leader strength, whatever you want to call it, or this kind of fixed box with readiness, we just replace the words. So now we're looking for high readies instead of high potential. I'm not sure we actually change anything fundamentally in terms of the assumptions in our culture. So replacing the words does not make it so. It would be like putting a different sort of road sign up to get us to change our driving habits. What this is about is seeing something different, thinking. The paradigm shift is for every person in our organization, seeing the potential and readiness to learn now and to be agile and to edit and to change, which is hard for all people in our organization, that anybody may move through that season at any given time, as opposed to saying there are people who are ready or not. It's not ready or not, here I come. It's who's ready now. And so it doesn't mean that everyone is going to be ready to edit and to learn. So that was one thing. It's interesting. It's not just replacing the word. It's changing our fundamental assumptions as leaders about what it means to learn and grow and who's ready, and the invitation to everyone to edit, which takes courage to put a system in place like the work that we do. The second thing is this. One of the other leaders, we were talking about experience being the teacher. We know from decades of research, many of you have heard me talk about this before, that leaders are developed on the job in high crucible, tough situations that aren't just about like setbacks, but quite literally about their own personal failures. Every leader. And so experience being the developmental laboratory where a lot of this leader capacity is developed. Okay, that's interesting. So one of the leaders was commenting on that and brought up a sports analogy of being a high school athlete, which took me back to my high school basketball team. When I was a sophomore, I came in with a tremendous amount of potential. I was playing well. I tried out. I was the second person to make junior varsity or the varsity team. So I came in pretty hot and playing well, but then I didn't get to play in the games. And I will tell you that based on my own feelings about myself, my lack of a practice time and ability to motivate myself into those practice times, I think I got worse over that year, and it affected a lot of things in me. What I think would have been interesting is if a coach had continued to invest in my own development as a player, even though I wasn't starting in the games. I don't mean I get to start in the games, but maybe if I had been given a little bit of framing for when you're in practice, this is preparation and rehearsal for the moment you may get in the game. That this is real time. Practice is real. It's a competitive moment where you're going to get a chance to practice the real things that are going to happen to you in the job, in the role of, listen to me, it's interesting, in the role of player or as leader. So what if we actually invited people into the developmental conversation? I'm assuming that there's a lot of people that may become ready if we talk to them that way. I just wish, and I'm not blaming my coaches, by the way, they were doing their best, but I think it would have been interesting that I may have actually maintained my skill level and my preparation for the moment I might get in the game, if they may have structured and talked. No one talked to me about that, and I kind of wish someone had prepared me that way. So blew my brain. I'm so grateful to all the leaders who jumped in. If you're a CEO out there and you want to jump into our next roundtable, would love to have you there. If you're willing to edit and go for this yourself and think about what it means to develop a high stretch, high development, leader development culture and laboratory in your organization, let's go. Love to see you there. So those are my thoughts for today.